by Schrodinger's cat that I have uploaded as far as my material on YouTube goes. Schrodinger's cat, the individual behind this account, has downloaded my YouTube video somehow, pirating it and re-uploading it as basically his material with his own bullshit commentary. So here I am. I wanted to articulate what's going on for those of you that think I'm a mental midget. That's what he called me. So I want to just elaborate on how much of a mental midget and mongoloid Schrodinger's cat actually is. For him to have all the views and all the subscribers that he has, there has to be some really depressing people out here with not a speck of knowledge floating around in the box of rocks they call a brain whatsoever. If they can't distinguish that this individual has no clue what he's talking about, no factual basis to support any of his allegations, for even calling people stupid, to even argue that they're wrong. All right, here we go. So, Schrodinger's cat states that I made an actual arrest and not so much a citizen's arrest. Schrodinger's cat, I executed a textbook definition citizen's arrest. The police that showed up that day were solicited by a defendant in my instant case, the lawsuit that I filed. They were solicited by way of a false report claiming that I was threatening and harassing his employees. Now, when I walked into this establishment, I was recording. I walked in, approached an employee on the other side of the desk. I said, "Excuse me, is the owner-operator here?" He said, "Yes, just one second." I said, "Thank you." And I stood my ground and I waited and then addressed the owner-operator. Now, tell me, based on the evidence that I've submitted on my YouTube and the allegation that I'm making now of what I did, does that sound like I was threatening or harassing employees? No. So when you call 911 as a business director attempting to cover your ass to solicit individuals from the same agency your wife works for in an attempt to retaliate against the individual whom you've committed theft against, it shows your true colors when you gotta lie to get the cops there. So, I showed up and delivered a notice to the defendant giving him an option to retract from his crimes against me and my property and to restore me immediately to my property. And I'll cover this later. The officers give false statements in regards to that delivery method and how it was conducted. Remember, it was recorded. It was alleged that I said by an officer that I was a sheriff's deputy delivering a warrant. It's not true. That's an officer giving a false report and making false statements to other officers, which is a crime. I have been criticized for calling myself a lawyer. Textbook definition of a lawyer is one who practices or studies law. I practice and study for myself. I will be glad to offer any insight and knowledge that I may possess in a consultation with others free of charge, just to enlighten them and educate them in regards to what the law is, and show them different sources where they can find information. Google Scholar, finding research in case law, etc. In the video, I said I was a private attorney general. I'm not lying. With all the hard work I'm doing with the investigation of a violation of RICO Act all across the board brought on by most of the officials I've come in contact with, to be a private attorney general basically means you're authorized by the RICO Act of the United States, the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization Act. And you act as a private citizen to conduct investigations and stings and busts of organized criminal activity. So it's in the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights. It's there, and nobody knows it exists, apparently. That's not my interpretation. That's what it is. It is perfectly fine for a citizen to represent themselves and to act as a lawyer for themselves. However, it is not lawful for an officer to give you legal advice. He told me that it wasn't a crime. He didn't even investigate. He didn't even see that they broke state law to conduct it, towing my property in violation of a clear state law as a private business, removing a citizen off of public property. I can be held liable in a court of law for filing false reports and making false statements. It is not an officer's job to practice law and to dictate what is criminal and what is civil. This is a prime definition of them practicing law unlicensed. Granted, I can represent myself and practice law for myself. I have every right to do so. When officers tell you that it is not criminal and it is civil, this is a blatant example of them practicing law unlicensed. If I file a criminal report and give statements alleging that an individual has conducted themselves in a manner which would be criminal, it is their duty to investigate, even in accordance with the statutory authority in Virginia state law. He takes a jab at me, calling me a mental midget, telling me I earned a law degree from Google, then goes right back to the video like that was profound information to be sharing to make him feel better about himself for his followers and his fans. He is nothing but a common bully. He made a comment as I was being arrested that I'm going to have a place to sleep tonight, as if I didn't already have a place that had been stolen from me unlawfully. Not at any point in the video does he offer factual statements in regards to law or the acts that have occurred, having done any diligent research to determine through other videos that were shared from different angles that I was in fact actively retaliated, solicited by one of the defendants. And he called law enforcement, gave false reports. He said I was threatening and harassing his employees. They could have showed up, guns drawn. I could have had a gun to my head. I could have been shot dead as a result of his false statement that he made to cops that day to 911, claiming that I was a threat to other people. Because officers can use their discretion to pick and choose what they want to investigate, these officers exercise their discretion to choose not to investigate a business director for alleged felony crime. This business director, he has contracts tied to the very same agency that had been solicited against me. A business director whose wife works for the very same agency that those agents work for, that he requested that were sent to retaliate. Schrodinger's cat offers no value and no insight to law or any factual basis to debunk any claims to debunk any claims or offers that would say I am in the wrong. This is just a feeble attempt at degrading another individual for personal gain, fame, and profit. As you notice in the video, the officers conspired to charge me with trespassing after I already removed myself from the individual's property where I conducted the citizen's arrest to turn over the citizen's arrest to law enforcement. At no point does Schrodinger's cat elaborate that I exercised a constitutionally protected activity by the state Constitution of Virginia and the Constitution of the United States. This attempt at soliciting a charge is in fact a retaliatory act and an attempt at deprivation of rights under Title 18 United States Code Section 241, and it is a blatant conspiracy. It is a blatant conspiracy under Title 241 and a deprivation of rights under Title 242. The deputy in the video claims that I had signed off on a warrant and claimed that I was a deputy sheriff. This is a retaliatory act brought on by this agent for giving false statements to officers in an attempt to retaliate against a victim, witness, and informant of crime. Making this claim is an allegation that would violate 18.2-174 on the first part of the statute for impersonating a law enforcement officer. The second part of 18.2-174 is assuming the duties of law enforcement. This is invidious legislation that was brought on by the politicians, the Democrats and the Republicans, two separate parties that are a part of one criminal organization, in an attempt to solicit law enforcement for the attempted criminalization and extortion of my class of citizenry. The statute needs a constitutional challenge to the second part of the face of it for abrogating the citizen's right to conduct a citizen's arrest for felony within view over theft of property. To conduct a citizen's arrest, you cannot just be exercising your right aimlessly. One would assume that you would need to investigate, report on, and arrest an individual for felony within view to conduct an appropriate citizen's arrest. The officers in several of my body camera videos make sure they tip off other officers in regards to their body cameras still being on and actively recording for the sole purposes of making these individuals aware not to trip up on camera during an active investigation. It is true that a couple of these agents during this investigation have in fact tampered with body camera footage during an active investigation, and this is in fact a crime of obstruction of justice by way of tampering with a video recording device during an active investigation. These officers are liable for a string of crimes here in Halifax County committed against me in the previous case of a malicious prosecution for impersonating and assuming duties of law enforcement, which was a charge solicited by the state in an attempt to abrogate and deprive me of my right to conduct a citizen's arrest and exercise my rights, my constitutional rights. Schrodinger's cat called me a series of names in an attempt to degrade my name and the opinions of what others hold on me. He called me a sovereign citizen. At no point during his video or any of my videos do you hear me refer to myself as a sovereign citizen. As you can see by the agents in the video who are cop-splaining their interpretation of what they believe law to be, when in fact they don't even know their ass from their elbows. The moment you are knowledgeable of law and you start educating them on what the law is, they're going to give their idea or interpretation or deflect and tell you, oh, you just got to go take it up in court. Even if they've just fraudulently charged you and you were looking forward to a malicious prosecution, which is what I have a history of, false charges and malicious prosecutions. Schrodinger's cat called me a mental midget, referring to the mental health or mental capacity that I have. After watching his review and commentary on my video, I believe him to be the exact equivalent of a mental midget, or what you would assume a complete mongoloid to be. If you like his video and you want to see more stupid in the future, please continue to follow Schrodinger's cat. Have a wonderful day. Mike out.